Okay, so I'm finally live on my page. Okay, and I think people. Okay, I have a confession right now. I just had a technical issue which I just faced right now, and as a result of that, what happened was that I didn't realize that I'm going live on my personal page, a personal profile, rather than my page. So I was live on my personal profile for the last half an hour without realizing that I'm supposed to go live on my page. So all the people who are live on my personal profile, I requested them to shift to my page. So my sincere apologies for that. And that's the reason why on the page it looks like we're starting late, where I'd actually gone ahead and started off this live on my personal profile. These are the challenges you face when you don't have your team with you to support you with all of these aspects, and you're completely alone. So sincere apologies for that, guys. I'm gonna restart my live and restart what I was talking about uh, on my page professionally once again. So in the meanwhile, I'm just going to wait for people to join in. I'm going to repeat from the beginning so that everybody has access to this. uh, as and when people are joining in the comments, okay, please share from where you are so that we can kickstart this like the way we're supposed to kickstart. I want to know who all have joined in and from where they've joined in. So hi Sachin, hi Vijay. Hi Vijay. You haven't missed it. I went live on my personal profile for the last half an hour, so I'm come back here. Okay, I'm going to wait for more people to join in so they can kickstart. Sorry for this logistical reason. It's funny. Today my topic, if you really understand, and if you've gone through the copy and all the promos before about this topic, it's about leadership in turbulent times, about getting your team to start taking a lot more responsibility. And for me, what I've realized is that, and I really pride my team for this, is that they're pretty responsible. I'm really missing my team. I'm really missing my team because usually I would do this with a lot of help, probably go down to the office where I have my team members supporting me to get this done. And today was probably the first time where such a small issue, such a small error. Because of that, I went on my personal profile going live and I didn't realize that. And my team just called me about 5-10 minutes back when they also realized this mistake, and I had to switch to my page. So that's actually what happened, guys. And for some people who were already watching me live on my personal profile, well, I'm going to repeat the entire thing all over again with probably a more deeper context this time. And for people who were on my who probably didn't come on my personal profile and are joining us right now, then thank God you haven't missed it, and I'm going to start from scratch. So, Deepak, thank you for coming back. You were all watching me on my personal profile, so I'm going to go through the entire thing again. Take about 2 more minutes for most people to join in, and then I'm going to begin. Hi, Puchu, nice to see you. Anil, Sumit, thank you for coming back. Okay, so getting started, guys. I know we've already lost our 30 minutes, so I'm going to try to catch up on this time over there so that I can optimize the best of the time we have. I'm going to recap what I spoke about. Like I said, that one of the most the context or the foundation behind why I chose this topic for this live, and the topic for this live is how does your leadership need to change in in these turbulent times? What do you need to do differently to ensure that you are maximizing the return on your investment of your leadership with your team? And I'm saying that these are turbulent times because like I already mentioned before, I'm going to say this again. I think these are testing times for everybody. I think it's taught a lot of lessons to everyone, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from. And I'll tell you what has stood out for me as a big lesson learned. Yeah, nothing is permanent, nothing is static. Things are going to change, and if you don't change while things are going to change, then I promise you, you are going to become redundant and you're going to fizzle out. At least that's the experience which a lot of business owners are going through right now, because a lot of people are insecure about their businesses fizzling out, their businesses not being the same as what it was before. And now's the time to become more relevant, because the customers' demands are going to change, the customers' needs are going to change, the customer's pocket is also going to change, because people are going to be very wary and very conservative about spending money. What I mean by that is that they're willing to spend money, but they want value in return. So it's testing times, and I believe that when times are testing you, that's when people's true character, people's true ability really stands out. And as an entrepreneur, according to me, apart from a lot of changes which you need to make, whether it's changes in your business, whether it's changes in your products and services, whether it is changes in your business model, whether it's changes in your business strategies, I really believe that what needs to change is also your leadership. And that change is so essential right now, because the way you lead your teams in the future is going to dictate the results you're going to gain in the future. You can't lead your teams like how you were leading your teams before. You can't be just giving instructions and expecting people to just do what they're supposed to do without your approach changing. You know, testing times requires testing measures, and these testing and measures require a lot of changes to make, so that you're going ahead and you're actually producing a different result. So my topic for today is, what do you need to change in your leadership? What should be your leadership style in these times of turbulence? And for all the people who've just joined in, sincere apologies to all of you once again. Here's what happened, and I'm again repeating this for the benefit of everybody who just joined in. I went live by mistake on my personal profile, and you know, these are the disadvantages of working from home, where you don't have your team to really support you in these kind of technical challenges, which is not really your expertise. So I just got to realize with my team's intervention that I'm supposed to go live on my page, and that was a mistake. And therefore, I'm going to start this live all over again on my page. And from now, we're going to go all guns blazing and on full throttle to really speak about this topic and go into detail. Where how do you really lead differently in these turbulent times? On the other hand, I won't rush. Okay, I know a lot of people have told me, don't rush because we've lost out on time. Don't worry, Deepak. Don't worry, Anil. I'm not going to compromise on your learning. I will take the required 1 hour, not a problem. Instead of from 4 to 5, from 5:30 to 6:30, no problem. I'll go on all the way till 6:30. That's not a problem at all. Okay, awesome. So, ready to begin, everybody? I'm ready to begin right now. I've finished rectifying these challenges. So, like I was saying, how do you lead differently in these turbulent times? I'll tell you what's the need of the hour today as an entrepreneur. I think, and I'll share this from my personal perspective also. Once things become normal, and I really believe that things are going to become normal, and I'll tell you what I mean by normal. Uh, think people will start living normally, but that normalcy is going to have a huge impact also on the way people are going to do business, because it will take some time for business to become normal, according to me. So the need of the hour as an entrepreneur is for your team to start taking up a lot more responsibility, for your team to step up and take more charge. Because I believe that this has been a real stressful period for entrepreneurs, where they're stretching out of their skin. They've really pushed their limits to support their team members by paying them salaries, to support their team members by probably taking loans and taking debts, so that they can make ensure that their team is surviving and not compromising on their team's payments and salaries in these testing and tough times. And for all the people who've done that, I must say hats off to you guys. I truly understand the challenges you may be going through, and I know how tough it is. I respect that. But I'm also going to say it's required, because I'm not a fan of laying off people, nor am I a fan of compromising on pay cuts to a large extent. It's my personal opinion. I'm not saying everybody needs to do that, but now's the time. You truly need to show that you are an entrepreneur. And if you weren't willing to take up these challenges of supporting your team, then probably entrepreneurship wasn't the right choice. And I know a lot of people, when I say this, will tell me, where do I get the money from? I know I'm willing to pay my team, but where will I get the money from? Everyone's facing those challenges, no two ways about it. And probably if you're in that challenge, I'll be very honest with you, it simply means that you don't have enough reserves for these times, which means that the way you've been doing business in the past has not been up to the mark. So it is tough, there's no two ways about it. Everybody's raising funds, most people are taking loans. It's fine, according to me. It's okay for you to do that. It's a personal opinion, but now's the time to support your team. Having said that, here's my sincere take as an entrepreneur, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this live. When you are supporting your team, and which is a fantastic initiative during these times, it's equally important. I'm telling you, it's equally important to make sure that you are able to extract and demand that same kind of support from your team back towards you, because it's tough. It is very tough for you to be doing what you're doing right now, and I'm telling you, it's been a challenge. There's no ways about that. Having said that, now's the time to demand from your team and get your team ready to respond to the kind of efforts which you have been putting in. And that's why I truly believe that your leadership style itself needs to change drastically for you to be able to get your team to respond to all the efforts and all the initiatives. All right. So that's why your leadership needs to change. That is why these turbulent times are testing. And in some ways, I believe that it's a very good thing that this has happened from a business perspective. I'll tell you why. What do I mean by a good thing? Of course, what's happening out there in the world is disastrous. Let's not even talk about that. But it's really, really, really given everybody an opportunity to reflect. It's really given everybody an opportunity to understand what needs to be different, and it's really given people the time to work on what needs to be different, whether it's their business, whether it's their leadership style. And now it's time to really go into that different mode to really prepare for when you come back to normal, how you're going to lead your teams. So I believe, so let's start with that. I'm going to address the first point right now. How do you, my one objective which I want to really go deep into is to equip you with what should be your change in your leadership style, which basically means that how do you get your team to become a lot more responsive, to take up a lot more responsibility. And I believe, like I said earlier, that the need of the hour right now is to take the bull by the horn. And I'm really, really talking about your teams. They need to take the bull by the horn, which means they need to step up, they need to take responsibility, they need to start taking more tasks, probably contribute in terms of more work, probably start taking work which you are doing and they're taking it up, so you get that time to really focus on building your business and scaling up your business to so that you're coming back to normal. Because in these times, obviously everybody has taken a hit, so your focus, your attention, you should be in reviving your business. Your focus, your attention should be to grow your business and probably get things to at least how they were before and then move it forward. So your time and your attention is required on the strategic growth of your business. In the meanwhile, the everyday tasks which you used to do in the past, you can't continue doing that anymore, and that's where your team needs to step up. And I believe that one of the most essential ways of getting your team to also your team to start taking charge, and also for your team to take the bull by the horn, is by you delegating to them. I repeat, is by you delegating to them. And I believe delegation as a leader is one of the most critical things you need to do, especially in times like this, so that your team can start taking more responsibility. Now, when I'm mentioning the word delegation, let me clarify beforehand what I mean by delegation, because I believe a lot of people confuse this term delegation and they don't really understand what it means. Let me first tell you what delegation is not. Delegation is not equal to you allocating tasks. Delegation is not work. That is just giving people work. That is just task allocation. Bottom line, delegation is about you assigning some of your responsibilities to your team. That's when you are delegating, giving something which you were originally in charge of or originally responsible for to someone else to do. That is when you have to go through the process of delegation. And I want you to understand that when you're delegating to someone else, one of the most, I would say, common reasons why people delegate, to be honest, is that they can get more time. And I agree that one of the most easiest methods to get more time is delegating, but most people are not able to achieve that objective where they get more time. In fact, while they delegate, as a consequence, they land up micromanaging the task a lot more, and they're constantly insecure whether the person can actually do the job or not in the way they want to do it. And as a result of that, they start regretting why did they delegate in the first place. And the reason why that happens is because the delegation process has not really been done with the kind of preparation and the kind of intensity it's supposed to be done. Bottom line, I want you to understand this. Delegation, according to me, works like a financial investment. Let me tell you what I mean. When it comes to a financial investment, for you to get a good return on your investment, you need to invest in the first place. Similarly, for you to be able to get more time by delegating, you should be in a position to invest that time so you get that return. And therefore, delegation is a process. All right. And I'm going to share with you one very, very critical principle, which according to me is a deciding factor whether delegation is going to be successful or not. And that principle is the principle of clarity. I repeat, that principle is the principle of clarity. And I believe that clarity is the essential foundational principle because of which delegation can be successful or because of which delegation can fail. I'll tell you what I mean. Most people, they fail in their delegation, and they fail in the delegation approach because there's no clarity in the way they've delegated, and the person they're delegating to is not clear on the expectations, and therefore will do what they want and then come back to learn that there have been a lot of breakdowns, there's been a lot of mismatch of expectations, and as a result of that is leading to a conflict. And first of all, I believe that's really unfair in the first place. Please remember what delegation is. Delegation is when you are empowering people with your responsibility, which means that it's a higher responsibility compared to what your team has been originally doing. And which means that they don't know how to do it probably. They don't have that kind of experience and exposure to have been doing it in the past. So obviously there is a possibility that there may be breakdowns. And to avoid these as possible, it is important for you to make sure that there is clarity in the way you delegate to people. So to help you to make sure there is clarity while you're delegating to people, I'm going to share with you a principle of ensuring clarity. Here's the principle, and I want you to really hear what I'm saying carefully, probably even make a note of it, because I think whether it is delegation or whether it's any area of communication, this is really going to help. Here's the principle of clarity. When they don't tell. Tell when they don't ask. Clarify before conflicting. I'm going to repeat that for you. Ask when they don't tell. Tell when they don't ask. Clarify before conflicting. Let me break this down. Ask when they don't tell. When you are delegating to someone, please do not expect them to tell you what is going on, or tell you what is, or do not expect them to give you information by the way in the manner you expected, because to be very honest, they don't know what they're doing, and they're doing it for the first time. There are lots of information which they may probably miss out or probably mistelling you because that's not clear for them, because they're doing it for the first time. Remember, delegations are higher responsibility. It's not something they've probably done before in the past. So it's important for you to ask when they don't tell, so that it doesn't lead to any confusion and there's no assumptions. There's no harm in doing that. So even before they have to think about what to tell you, if you ask them, it gives you an opportunity to be clear and be on the same page. Second point of this principle, okay, tell when they don't ask, which means that don't expect them to come and ask you questions. They don't even know what questions to ask you, because like I mentioned earlier, they absolutely don't know what and they've not had as much exposure as you expect them to have, because this is a task which is delegated, which means that it is your responsibility which you're sharing with them. So it's important for you to tell even if they don't ask you, so that it doesn't lead to any kind of breakdown and confusion from their side. Ask when they don't tell. Tell when they don't ask. If you do these 2 points, what it avoids is any kind of lapse of communication, and you are taking responsibility to make sure that there's complete clarity, so the other person ensures that they have all the information to move forward. And even in spite of this, I'm going to promise you that there will be breakdowns, there will be problems, there will be challenges, because that's the whole point of delegation. And I'm going to advise you rather that when you're delegating, be okay with these breakdowns, because obviously the outcome is for you to empower them with a different responsibility, which means that they will face challenges and they have to learn through that. But because of these breakdowns, before you get into any kind of conflict, or an easier way to avoid this conflict situation is to clarify. Okay, very important for you to clarify before conflicting, because it's very easy for you to start making assumptions. It's very easy for you to start coming to conclusions about what people have done and what people have not done, and then just get into conflict. Rather than that, clarify what the other person's meaning, clarify what the other person's trying to say, understand the facts behind what people have done, and only when you are clear, and only when you know for a fact where there is a responsibility, where there's a breakdown, you address it, rather than just jumping into conflict without clarifying what actually happened. So to summarize, ask when they don't tell. Tell when they don't ask. Clarify. Very important and critical for you to ensure that delegation works. And I'll tell you why this is important. And this brings me to my next point of delegating. Essential foundation for delegation to work is clarity, but the main purpose of delegation, and I want you to be okay with this, the main purpose of delegation is development, which means that people will make mistakes, which means people will have breakdowns, and only when you're okay with that, you can use that as an opportunity to get people to learn and get developed. And here's what I'm trying to say, guys. Bottom line, one of the most effective ways of getting people to learn and to develop people's capability is to delegate. I'll tell you why I'm saying this. There's training, there's coaching, there's mentoring, there's counseling, there's so many methods of of development. But according to me, when people actually do something and they learn while doing it on the job through their own experience and through their own failures, that learning sticks. The nothing more powerful and there's nothing more effective when people are actually learning from their own experiences, and you can create that experiences in a more controlled manner by actually delegating, because according to me there is absolutely no delegation without development. The purpose of you delegating in the first place should be development. Yes, you may get time. Yes, it may make you be a lot more freer, but understand that only when you develop them through the process of delegation can they actually take up the responsibility permanently, where you don't have to worry about it in the future, so you can focus on something which is more important, which is to bring your business back to normal or focus on your business. Very, very critical. So it's critical that you use delegation as a method to develop them. And the third important point along with delegation, to ensure that people take the bull by the horn and step up to taking more responsibility, is going to be your mentoring approach. So according to me, another big difference in your startup needs to be that rather than being authoritative, rather than being instructional, rather than being bossy or giving orders, your approach should not just be about supervising tasks. Your approach needs to become more of a mentor, because that is the need of the hour today if you want people to really step up and start taking responsibility. You got to mentor people more actively, mentor people in a more one-to-one level, so that they understand what to do and they're able to step up to the challenge at hand. Let me tell you what I mean by mentoring. I mean that you got to give people guidance. You got to tell them what they're doing. You got to give them, guide them by showing them the way and telling them what to do, and also telling them what not to do. Another big aspect of mentoring is that you got to give people consistent feedback. So they need to know what they've done well. They need to know what they've not done well, and they also need to know what they've done, what they need to do differently, so they can utilize your feedback and improve their performance. Feedback is a very, very critical aspect and ingredient of mentoring. On the other hand, another big aspect when it comes to mentoring is to ensure that you are hand holding people. I'll tell you what I mean by hand holding. All right, you on the job need to make sure that you are providing people guidance, you are working along with them and showing them how to do it rather than just talking about it. So handholding basically means, if you understand the word handholding, you're holding people's hand and you're making them do it, which means that you got to support them where they fall. You got to show them how to do it. It's more like a role model, role play method. So your mentoring approach needs to be where you provide guidance, you give feedback, and you handhold people so they're a lot more prepared to take up the responsibility. So to summarize, let me be very clear with what I'm saying. I believe a drastic change in your leadership style needs to be that you need to start delegating more and you need to start mentoring more. Because when you start delegating and mentoring a lot more, that's when people can take up a lot more responsibility and people can actually take the bull by the horn. If you think what I just said made a lot of sense, please type "makes sense" in the comment box, because I really want to know whether this is relevant for you. So please type that. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. So that addresses the first point of how do you get your team to become a lot more responsive and actually start taking more responsibility. Another point which I want to mention, which I think is a very, very important aspect and challenge which a lot of people are struggling with right now. According to me, most people have actually brought this point that how do I keep my team positive and empowered? Because right now people are more insecure, people are extremely worried, people don't know what the future is going to be. So the motivation quotient of their teams are going down. So how do you ensure that your team is constantly, in these times specifically to talk about it, a lot more empowered, especially if they're working remotely? So I'm going to focus a little bit on that right now. Now, as I would say obvious and as weird as my weird, but I'm going to say this, okay? Right now, for you to ensure that your team is a lot more motivated and a lot more empowered, The only solution is to make sure that your communication with your team is extremely strong and extremely consistent and extremely frequent. I'll tell you what I mean. I've seen a lot of leaders, even when they weren't working remotely, would have a very closed door concept. I'll tell you what I mean. They would only interact with their team when there is something specific to talk about, or there's something given, or when there's an issue which has to be resolved. And that's not going to work anymore, my friends. In fact, especially because you're working remotely, that all the more is not going to work anymore, because you got to actively start engaging with your team, and you're going to make sure that you actively communicate a lot more than usual. Not because there is work to do, not because you're going to talk to them about work, but even from a personal point of view, it's important that you communicate with every single team member every single day at a personal level. Would mean that you ask them how they're doing, you ask them if their family is safe, you ask them if they're getting their essentials, or they're struggling to get essentials for their family. Reaching out for your team and ensuring that your team has the confidence that you're looking out for them is extremely important for them to for them to feel positive. Not doing this can get them to start feeling that they're fending for themselves, and honestly that increases a lot of insecurity. So it is important to make sure that you constantly remain in communication, not just for professional reasons but also for personal reasons, to make sure that your team has the confidence that you have got their back, and that is your responsibility as. On the other hand, as weird or as funny this may sound, another important activity you got to do as a leader to make sure that your team is positive is to honestly do a lot more reviews for your team. I'll tell you what I mean by this. It is extremely important, according to me, to review your team, because when you review your team, it gets your team to understand what progress they're making. And only when people see progress, think about what I'm just saying right now, only when people see true progress can they actually believe that something's going on well. Otherwise, they don't have any kind of feedback mechanism or any kind of report card, for lack of a better word, to understand if what they're doing is actually making sense or not. Other than, why will they be positive? So I really believe that doing regular reviews will help people understand the progress they're making, and as a result of that, they can understand how productive they're being. Because right now in these times, according to me, the more productive you are, the more positive you are. And I think that makes complete sense. I'll tell you why. Today, people are whiling away their time, and people are wasting their time in thinking about negativity, and it's becoming a classic case of idle's mind is a devil's workshop. If your mind is going to be idle, the devil is going to take over, where you're going to start thinking about the worst. So the more productive people are, the more positive people are. And the way to make your team more productive is to review what they're doing on a daily basis, so you can show them how they're making progress and show them how they're being productive. And according to me, that's a great way of empowering them constantly. And I'll tell you why, another reason why this is important. Whatever work, especially right now, which people are doing, is going to contribute to your business in a huge way. So it's important for people to realize what a difference they're making in the entire environment, and they're actually contributing. Because I think people need to feel worth it right now. I'm noticing a lot of people out there, and people have this feeling, and I'm gonna be very honest about this, but a lot of people feel sometimes that they're feeling worthless. Like right now they're not able to contribute, or right now they're feeling good for nothing because everything is shut. And that's why I'm telling you that the more productive and the more progress you're able to show your team, the more productive they can be and the more positive they can be, to actually know that they're making a difference in whatever way possible. And I think that reinforcement is very, very required. So to summarize, how can you ensure that your team is a lot more positive and a lot more empowered in these times? I believe constant communication, not just for professionals but also for personal reasons. It's important to stay in touch, regular reviews with the intention of showing them what progress they've made and showing them how productive they are, because when people are productive, they know they've contributed, and that's what makes them positive. Versus idle's mind is a devil's workshop. And for that, it's important to be transparent. It's important for you to engage your team in collective decision making and be a role model in these times, because when you are reviewing progress and ensuring that all these systems are being followed, people look up to you as a role model, and they understand that you're fending for them, so they want to contribute too, because people want to know that they're also contributing and they're making a difference. So I would say that that style in your communication right now needs to change, especially in these times, so that your team is a lot more empowered. Awesome. So, going to the last point, which I want to really throw some light on during this live, to really support you in preparing for a different leadership style. How on the whole, what all do you need to do to prepare your team to come out of this lockdown situation? I truly believe that it's going to be very important that, in like, if you consider all of what I've shared right now, all of this is going to be very critical as a leadership style. So when you go out there and you use delegation, you use mentoring as an approach to really actively involve your team and to make sure that your communication goes through the roof. I truly believe that all of this put together will have a huge impact on how your team sees you and how they respond to me. This will have a this difference in style is going to become the need of the hour for you to lead. Okay, so to summarize what all I've shared right now for all of you: number one, delegate. Delegate a lot more. Delegate with clarity, which equals to ask and don't tell. Tell even when they don't ask. Clarify before conflicting. Delegate to develop, not just to get time. The second point of what I mentioned, which needs to have a change in your leadership style, is to mentor people rather than bossing over people, so that you can develop capabilities a lot more faster and people can really step. And another thing, when it comes to your communication, to make sure that people are more empowered, is to communicate a lot more frequently, communicate a lot more progress, make sure that people are more productive, because productivity is going to become the new positivity. And I really believe by using that approach, people can really emerge to become a lot more stronger, to bounce back from the situation, and that style will really work. So those are the insights I wanted to share with you, and I want to take some time right now to actually answer some of your questions, because that's one of the other things why I wanted to keep this live for. So go ahead and start pouring in your questions. Ask your questions in the comment section. There are already some questions which are up, so I'm going to take some time and answer these questions for you. In the meanwhile, please type in your question box so I can answer as many questions. Okay, give me a moment. Anil is asking me this question: does mentoring mean I do, you watch? Yes, Anil, since obviously you attended our PACE program, you know the method of mentoring, which is I do, you watch, we do together, you do, I watch, and you've learned that in detail. I think it's the most powerful method of mentoring, and I think it's one of the methods of mentoring. I do, you watch. It's called shadowing and hand holding. Apart from that, as a part of mentoring, you got to give a lot of feedback, and apart from that, as a part of mentoring, you also can give people a lot of guidance. So I do you watch is one of the things you got to do as a part of mentoring. I hope that was clarified for you. Anil also said that you've asked your sales team to write scripts. I think that's very useful time right now to utilize your sales team to writing scripts so that they can utilize in the future. Obviously, you can't do a lot of sales right now because everything is restricted. But when they prepare and they start making scripts and they actually validate and view these scripts, they're utilizing their brains, they're being very productive, they're preparing themselves. So at least they know they're making a difference for being a lot more, I would say, ready for when times get back to normal. So I think it's a great way to go. Good job, Anil. Fantastic. Okay. Venkatesh was asking this question. We are from pharma startup, 5 years old. 5 years old, work from home is not possible in our field. How to keep the field force motivated? You know what, Venkatesh? Honestly, here's what I'm going to say. You're saying that with a very limited point of view. According to me, no matter what business you are in, there is a lot of possibilities for people to work from home. I'll tell you what I mean, and I'll also tell you what I don't mean. I don't mean that your workforce can go and sell. And that's not just for you because you're in pharma business. I'm going to say this for most businesses out there. People are not able to sell. I think the only possibility of sales are happening when people are able to sell online. That also with a lot of restrictions because of the lockdown. So that's not what I mean. Having said that, it doesn't mean you cannot work from home, because according to me, the only work you have is not to sell. There's so much more which you can do from a preparation perspective, even though you're in pharma. And I'm going to give you some advice right now. My business partner Rajiv, he is going to be doing a webinar called the Business Progress Webinar on the 21st of April. And the focus of that webinar is honestly to help you to understand what you can do in this situation specifically, so that you can start preparing yourself and get down to the detail of what tasks you can do in your business, no matter which business you are in. So you should register for that webinar. It's a free webinar, and even though you are in a pharma business, it will tell you very clearly what should you focus on keeping in mind what business you are in to optimize this time and work from home a lot more quickly. So Venkatesh, lot more is there for you. You just need that clarity. Okay. Uh, Abhay is saying delegation. Thank you. You're most welcome. Okay. Deep's asking me this question. Karan, could you share about how we get teammates who cannot work from home, like factory workers, engaged and productive in these lockdown times? So Deepak, here's what I would say. And you're talking about, say, blue collar staff. Here's what I would say. Uh, I'm sure. See, you try to get them to learn how to use technology, and I'm saying simple technology like even a WhatsApp call is fine, or if you can get them to use platforms like Zoom or any other platform, fine. Because I believe more even factory workers, etc., are pretty tech savvy nowadays because everybody knows how to use a mobile phone. Everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on TikTok. More often than not, it's these people who are actually more active on social media. So it's about getting them on the call, getting them on a common platform. Let's just say that's not possible. It's okay for you to do a conference call city also and kind of teach them and educate them how to do it. But you can use them to, because in their case, since they're factory workers and probably blue collar to a large extent, their contribution may not be as much from the business angle. So you want to use this time in skill development and training, because they also need a lot of training. They also probably need a lot of soft skill engagement, and they can be engaged in being developed so that their efficiency goes through the roof. So my simple suggestion to you would be to engage them in training, to prepare them. Simple trainings, like it could be soft skill oriented, it could be customer service oriented, simple topics like time management or communication. I think it'll make a huge difference to them, so that they can also feel productive and they can also feel worth it, and they can be ready for when things become normal. So that one was for you, Deepak. I hope that can be implementable for you. uh, Another question. Fula asks, what can we do as work from home in the fitness industry? Fitness industry is going on a rage right now to go online, and I believe, Prafula, that you should consider taking your classes online, because if you are in the fitness industry, I'm sure you have a lot of members already, you have a lot of clients already, and everybody's doing it. They're going online, and there's no challenge in doing in your industry. I mean, we're taking your industry online, which means that if you're taking fitness classes, you can do it on video call, you can do it on using pre-recorded videos. It's ultimately a fitness program that can go online. So for that to be supported, it all can be done from home. There's no challenge at all. So I would really want you to explore how can you take your service online. And I believe from a future perspective, it can be a parallel model to work on apart from your offline model, where people come to a gym, etc., and they come for actual classes. Both can work and both can be done parallelly. So that one was for you, Prafula, and can explore how you can take it online. Okay. Abhay asked this question: how do we encourage people to receive feedback? Interesting question. All right. So let me tell you, how do you encourage people to receive feedback? First of all, let me tell you what's the problem with feedback in the first place. According to me, feedback as a development tool has been so misused in the past that people start resisting feedback in the first place. The most obvious or the most natural response which people have to feedback is that feedback equals to I'm going to get into trouble, or feedback equals to I've done something wrong. For me, that is the biggest disaster when it comes to feedback in the first place. And probably, Abhay, that's the reason why you're asking that question, because when you want to give feedback even with the right intention, people itself are very, very defensive. So according to me, the method to encourage people to receive feedback is for you to set the context that when you are giving feedback, the purpose of you giving feedback is not to blame them, and it should never be to blame them. The purpose of giving feedback to people is to let people what they're doing right, and also let people know what they're doing wrong, so they know what to do differently. And clarifying that your intention of giving that feedback is not to create conflict or blame, but is to show them the right direction, which includes right and wrong. That explanation and that communication is very important, so the other person knows how to receive that feedback, and also the other person knows that this feedback is going to benefit them. So here's what I'm gonna throw back at you, Abhay, and this will actually give you clarity for that question as to how you're going to encourage people. You need to be very clear as to what is your intention of feedback. And when you're giving feedback, you need to let people need to have that confidence that it will benefit them. And only when they have that confidence that it will benefit them, even before they've got that feedback, will they actually be encouraged to receive feedback. So my question to you is, while you're telling them that you're going to give them feedback, are you clear that your feedback is going to benefit them? Are you clear you're not using this feedback for blame, but you're using this for development? And are you communicating this intention to them? If you're able to communicate that intention and you stick to that intention, I really believe that people will be a lot more encouraged and look forward to feedback, because that's what feedback is supposed to be in the first place. So that was for you, Abhay. Let's look at some other questions. Uh, Ravi says that taking your advice and communicating with my staff and mentoring, super Ravi. I think that's good for you. Deepak says our sales team is making relationship calls with prospects, getting great feedback, and it's time to nurture and build relationships which are not transactional. Completely agree, Deepak. I really believe that right now people have time, which means that your potential clients also have time, and it's useful to invest the time which you have in nurturing relationships, not to sell, not to go there and do transactions like you very rightly said, but to nurture the relationship so that the relationship is alive, so that when the time comes, it can be, you can go back into sales mode, because when you need to sell, they need to buy anyway. So business is going to come back to usual. So rather nurture relationships. I think it's great. It's a great thing that you're doing, Deepak. Is going to be very useful. Some other questions. Anil's asking this question. We need to know tips about how we can keep our premises safe when we are open. How will customers have confidence to visit? So honestly, I don't know whether I am the right person to give you safety measures and to keep it safe. But it's all out there, Anil. It's all out there. Government is releasing clear instructions to make sure that if you're open, because I don't know what's the scene when it comes to Karnataka. Originally, the PM had announced that from 20th of April, certain services are going to be open. But apparently, yesterday, at least in Bangalore and Karnataka, where I'm at right now, there's a notice which is out that it's been revoked. So it really depends upon your state. But clear instructions are out right now that if you are opening, on what kind of businesses can open and what kind of businesses can't, and if you're opening, what are the safety measures you got to use. So let's just say in your business, if customers have to visit your store, there are many safety protocols to follow, like temperature testing, like sanitization, and ensuring that when before customers are customers come into your store, that visibility is there, that you are implementing all these safety measures which are going to give them the confidence, probably giving them prior communication via social media or via SMSs or via WhatsApp about what are the kind of safety measures which you are taking care of, and following the government's instructions to make sure there's safety in place. So all those instructions are already given by the government, which is thermal testing, sanitization, social distancing. It's all there. But I think it's important that you communicate to your customers, and your customers know what are the safety precautions you're using, so they have that confidence. Like, I'll give you a classic example. Okay, food delivery apps, they are doing this a lot. Obviously, a lot of customers might look at it as a risk of ordering from outside, but I think food delivery apps like Swiggy and Zomato are really, I'm not saying there's no risk. There is still a risk over there, and the risk is individual in nature. People should be willing to take the risk if they want outside food. But I think the food delivery apps are doing their bit to educate their customers about what safety precautions they're taking, and what safety precautions it is required for you to take once food is delivered for you. All those instructions are there, so it's really helping people to have confidence to order from outside. Similarly, Anil, you can also educate your customers, and your customers can have confidence, but follow government guidelines. I think that's more useful in terms of safety. So that was for you. Ajay asked this question: how to increase networking part with clients? We calling them, but anything extra can be done. So here's what I believe, Ajay. I feel that, like I already addressed to Deepak, it's the perfect time to network. It's the perfect time to add value. It's the perfect time to network also for the sake of marketing and content. I mean, I'm talking about marketing. I'm not talking about selling. I'm talking about value-based marketing. Uh, on the other hand, I also feel that when you're interacting with your customers, apart from networking, it's also a time to properly use your customers to prepare for the future, which can mean that you can ask your customers about what changes that they're going to bring in terms of their buying pattern and their businesses post things getting back to normal. And getting that clarity is a good research initiative for you to launch with your customers, so that you can modify your services, your products, really give your customers what they need. I sincerely believe that customers' needs and problems will change. Customers may become more choosy. I mentioned this before. I think it's going to become a level playing field. which means that a lot of people's past credibility or past accolades may become redundant and inconsequential right now. I think people are going to value a lot more, which means that people are going to look at credibility based on how much value they're receiving and not based on how old a person is. And therefore, to be in a position where you can give a lot more value, I think it is important that you can survey with your customers and ask them what's going to change from their side, so you can also start changing. I think that will really, really help, apart from just networking with them to build relationship. So Ajay, I think that's one for you. Understand the needs, understand the pain points of your customers as to how will it change, so that you can also adapt to that change. So, Rashmi asking this question, we are arranging training or review meetings with teams, but we are getting less response from blue collars. Where we can, what can we do to get them involved at home? Please guide. So I would say that your supervisors need to get involved over here, and if you are the supervisor itself, I think to start this, the context setting needs to be strong. Probably if you just tell them to do some training, then people may not take it seriously, because in their head training is their life used to happen before. So I would first recommend get them at a common platform as a, like a meeting, and set the context for why you're doing this training and how will it benefit them. So it's important for you to first gain that commitment, Rashmi, and set that context so that they're willing to give you that commitment, and only then start these trainings. By just randomly announcing training, especially for blue collar, in their head they may not take it seriously, because they may believe it's not for them, or rather what's in it for them. And therefore, having a common meeting first to really clarify that context and set it up is important, so they know what's in it for them and they know how they're going to benefit, and probably make it a mandate once they're on the same team. Because what I want you to realize is that you're also giving them salary, and you got to optimize that salary at least in the form of preparing them. So they need to understand the seriousness of this, and getting them in a common forum first to address this will make a huge difference to get them to respond in the future. So to summarize, get them into a meeting, set the context, talk to them about what you are doing to support them, ask them the kind of support you want from them, and make it a mandate that training is important. Why is it important? By showing them what's the benefit, and that's when they'll respond better. So Rashmi, that was for you. Krishnamurti, the question he's asking is, as a civil contractor, what's your suggestion for me? Krishnamurti, very difficult question to answer, because I would ask me a more specific question. I can be more precise that way. But to go on a whim, if you're a civil contractor, again, I would say when it comes to your team members and you networking with your clients, networking with your vendors, and preparing as to what changes are going to happen is going to be a very critical activity for you. And apart from that, preparing on training, preparing on developing a team would be a great way of you moving forward. I really recommend for all the people who are asking me questions about what can I do during this time, I sincerely recommend you should be a part of Rajiv's webinar. It's happening on the 21st of April. Rajiv and me are business partners, and the point of the webinar is a business progress webinar. It's not about how to make money in this time, because that is going to be hard, but it's mainly focused on ensuring that you are clear in your business what work you can do and how do you optimize your team in terms of specific tasks and activities they got to do. It's a completely free webinar, and we're exclusively launched this right now during this time to make sure that people have clarity on what tasks they can do. So Krishnamurti, I suggest sign up for the webinar. It's happening on the 21st, and you'll get a lot of answers over there, because it's anyway a free for it. Okay. Questions. Dave is asking me this question: do you think presenting products online to architects in this time will make sense? Okay, so again, it depends, Dave. It really depends on whether you have the relationship with those architects for them to receive it in the right way. So my recommendation would be is to first, obviously, do some basic calling with them to just make sure that you're checking up on them, and take their permission. And I'm assuming these architects may be people whom you already know. People whom you don't know and you go on presenting products online just to keep them in the loop, I don't think people are going to take it seriously, because they should be in a position to even care about what you're saying. So it depends on that. But once you've established a relationship with them wherein they have given you permission, and they know that the reason why you're presenting these products to them is so that you can get their feedback, and so that when the time comes, you can get the ball moving a lot more faster, then that makes sense completely. So I would say reach out to them, make sure you get permission, and then you can present to them. That will be a lot more useful. So Dave, that was for you. Dr. Syed is asking this question: corporate also hit really bad. Doctors do not want to take any risk upon the pandemic. The management is ready to do their best, but doctors are backing out. Online consultations are not giving the kick we actually looking for. What is your view on this? I agree. I mean, right now doctors are being I mean, a lot of doctors are doing voluntarily becoming volunteers to support. On the other hand, lot of doctors probably are backing off because people don't want to take a risk. On the other hand, be okay with the fact that online is not going to give you as much as response right now, and that's not the case for you, Dr. Syed. That's the case for everybody, because people can't visit a hospital. On the other hand, people, a lot of the aam janta or public are when it comes to consulting, may have second thoughts about consulting on video call because they feel the physical consulting is more better because it's a doctor. So I would recommend you to focus a lot of your efforts right now on marketing. And I'm telling you what I mean by marketing. I'm talking about increasing your visibility online, increasing your credibility online, and educating people about these forums so that people can start becoming a lot more open towards these things rather than being closed. And in the future, this can be set up a lot more, which means that you can have a parallel stream of doing online consulting also, but for that, people need to be a lot more educated. So the key is in increasing the visibility and increasing the marketing so that people are a lot more educated and can move towards online in this direction. But expecting quick results right now for anybody is not going to be a wise idea. Bottom line, here's what I'm trying to say, guys. You need to whatever activities we are going to be doing right now will not make a massive difference to your business, because that's the way the situation is. Everybody needs to accept that hard reality, and there's no point in fight that. But you got to use these activities to probably be much more prepared to bounce back, and these are all hygiene activities which will make a lot of difference in the future. So that's my purpose of sharing all these views with you. All right. So, uh, uh, one question. Ravi says, "I am a dentist. How do I go? Cause we are not safe to reopen even after lockdown ends. Any tips on how do I connect and retain with my patients?" Ravi, very similar to what I shared with Dr. Syed. I would say you already have patients on board. All right. And it's important, and obviously the patients who come to you, a lot of patients come to you quite regularly, and I'm sure you already have a database in place. I would say use social media, use WhatsApp, to engage with them and educate them a lot more. It could be in the form of tips, it could be in the form of pointers through educational videos about how can they still keep their dental hygiene in place. Certain do-it-yourself hacks you can educate them with, which will help you to add more value to them. All that will be really helpful right now to make sure they're in touch, because I completely agree with you that getting people to the centers right now is definitely not a advisable and safe option. So keeping that in mind, that would be a great way for you to go, Ravi. On the other hand, see if you can explore any kind of video consultation for any kind of emergencies, at least in terms, I don't know if it's possible in your case, but at least general advice, general consultation, or any kind of prescriptive medicine could work to at least keep in touch. And on the other hand, engaging, like I said, through WhatsApp or through social media with your existing clients would add a lot of value to them, so that the hook back towards you when things go back to normal can be increased. And that's the way you can optimize this current situation. Okay, so guys, that's it from my side. I think I've come pretty much to the end of this live. I hope this has been a here's what I'm going to recommend to all of you. A lot of questions have been coming around. Ask me what all specific activities they can do in this time for you to move forward. I'm telling you this, I sincerely recommend go there and sign up for the webinar which is happening on the 21st of April. It's called the Business Progress Webinar, and it's being conducted by my business partner. And the focus of this webinar is to give people clarity on what essential work can they do in their functions during these times of lockdown. That is the purpose of this webinar in the first place. So a lot of those answers will become a lot more clear for you, and optimize this time to the best of your abilities. In the meanwhile, guys, this is me signing off. I hope this has been of value to all of you, and I hope that you've received a lot of insights from my live. Go there and actually ensure that you change your leadership style. Go there, delegate more, mentor more, be in regular conversation, because that's the need of the hour, guys. Let's make sure that you develop your team to step up to the situation and take charge in these times, and you becoming a more effective leader. See you guys soon. Take care, be safe, and see you on the other side. Bye bye.